Well, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, or whatever it happens to be, wherever you are in the world. My name is Phoenix Imperium. I am a streamer on normally Star Citizen, but I do a lot of flight sim as well. I am a real-world pilot on the Boeing 737-200, and I'm just going to do this quick little video. It's been requested by some viewers on my channel to do some YouTube stuff, so I'm going to do that. And the first thing I'm going to do is take you through a complete, this is going to be a 777, as you can see here, 777-300. So not the exact airplane that I fly, but pretty close. I'm going to take you through a complete flight from start to finish. I won't show the whole cruise segment, obviously, that could get a little bit long. But I will take you through sort of everything else so you can see the processes that sort of go through our heads and what all happens up front. Unless there is an actual abnormality or system failure today, I do have service-based failures enabled in the 777. But unless there is one of those, I'm not planning on simulating any kind of failures today. So, quick little word on add-ons here for those of you who may be flight sim enthusiasts. I have, as you can see here, this is the PMDG 777-300 aircraft. It's about $90 to $100, I believe, for the full package. As well as the scenery behind in the background here is the Fly Tampa Toronto scenery. I also have the Montreal scenery. Today's flight is going to be from Toronto to Vancouver, so across most of the countryside of Canada there. Very picturesque. And yeah, it's about just over a 4-hour flight. So like I said, I'm not going to show the entire cruise because that could get pretty boring and make for a pretty big video size. But we're going to do the takeoff and, the pre-flight planning, the takeoff, and the approach to landing as well. So we'll just jump right into it here. So we're going to start out with the planning. Virtual Air Canada has the very great benefit, very great advantage of having a flight planning software through simbrief.com. This is normally a service that you would pay for, but as a member of Virtual Air Canada, I have access to it for free, so that is great. It comes up with a complete flight plan package, just like you would find at pretty much any major airline. The only thing it's going to be missing is the performance data for the engines and runway lengths and stuff like that, just because that is a little bit more complicated to get a hold of. But it has a lot of other good stuff, and I'm going to go through kind of what I would look for in a flight plan here, and then we'll jump into the airplane. So we'll treat this kind of like a real flight, where you get the flight plan first, you go through it, make sure everything looks good, and then jump into the airplane and start getting set up. So for the first part here, this is the first page of the flight plan. There is a header as well, but I haven't shown it for privacy reasons. It does have my real name in it, so not going to go there. Dispatcher remarks. He doesn't have any remarks for us. I guess there's nothing very remarkable about this flight. OFP remarks. The PRAME check is completed. No outages. That means the predictive RAME. RAME stands for Receiver Autonomous Integrity Monitoring, and basically it's a way to verify the GPS and make sure that it's actually giving us accurate information, and there are no outages predicted for our entire route. Briefing package MEL items, there's none. MEL stands for Minimum Equipment List, and that just has to do with any items on the airplane that are unserviceable, like say if we had I don't know, a light, like a cabin light that wasn't working or something like that, or the auxiliary power unit can also be MEL'd if it's not working, and that would be on there just so that we know it's not working and we're aware of any restrictions that are placed on the flight because of it. For example, without an APU, I don't believe you can do extended range twin engine operations, so over the ocean. Pretty sure you need to have an APU for that. So again, without looking at the actual MEL, I'm not sure, but that's what the MEL is basically a document for the airplane that says this is what you can go without and this is the restrictions that you have to abide by if you are going without this item. So there's nothing on the airplane right now, everything is working. Current MEL items, again, none as well. Flight planning summary, cost index of 27, that's just sort of a value that airlines use to determine fuel burn numbers for climb, descent, optimum speeds, that kind of thing. Not really super important for everyday use, but the one for this flight is 27. Flight level 360, so 36,000 feet is what we're going to start out at for this flight. Let's see what else is important on here. Distance of 1,826 miles, and then estimated en route time 4 hours 37 minutes with a fuel burn of 70,000 pounds. So that's quite a bit of fuel if you think about it. Yeah, 70,000 pounds is quite a chunk of fuel. Flight plan route, so we got departure off of Toronto, which is YYZ, runway 05 is what it's planned us off of on the flight plan here. That just uses the most into-wind runway that's suitable for takeoff. More than likely we're going to get a different runway, but we can always change that in the airplane itself. Toronto, so we'll leave Toronto, we'll be flying 478 knots at cruise at flight level 360 to start with. via the AVSEP-2 departure, which is a particular departure procedure that we will look at in the charts here a little later on. LITMO, direct to Sault Ste. Marie, that's the VOR. It's NavAid. Basically, each one of these is a fix in the computer there. The ones with 5 letters, LITMO, UDBOX, Axili, those ones, those are RNAV waypoints, GPS waypoints. There's no ground-based navigational aid for these. They're just coordinates in the system. The ones with 3 letters are usually VORs. They can be NDBs as well, but normally they'd be VORs. SSM is Sault Ste. Marie. YQT is Thunder Bay. It's just something you kind of get used to. But these ones do have ground-based nav aids associated with them, so you can lock onto an actual signal and track it if you need to, but normally we can, again, just use the GPS to find them because it knows where everything is. So after UDBOX, we're going to climb to flight level 380, which is 38,000 feet. We're going to be doing 472 knots true airspeed. Direct Axili, and then direct this waypoint here. And then Booth Canuck 3 arrival into Vancouver. So the Canuck 3 is a arrival procedure. Again, it's kind of like a departure procedure, like the AVSEP-2, except it's coming into the airport. And it's sort of a prescribed, you know, fly this altitude, this track, to cross this fix at this speed. It just lays out exactly the way they expect you to come in there into YVR. Clearances would be the place to write the actual ATC clearance when we get it. I don't have this printed, so I'm going to have to write it with Notepad, I guess. But yeah, so when you pick up the clearance from ATC, you would write it here. Alternate information, so we're using YQQ, which offhand I can't remember exactly what it is. It might be Comox. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, YQQ is our alternate. We're going to go from, so if we miss the approach for whatever reason in Vancouver, if the weather's too bad or whatever, we'd be going to Comox and at flight level 100, which is 10,000 feet, it's 74 miles, 24 minutes to get there, and 7,300 pound burn for the fuel. So that's if we can't get into our destination. Moving on. Here's our fuel information. So we've got a taxi fuel out from the airport in Toronto, fuel of 1.4 for that. So 1,400 pounds in 20 minutes just for the taxi in Toronto. It is a large airport. You can expect to spend a fair amount of time taxiing. The burn to YVR is going to be, like we said, up there, 70,000 pounds, 4 hours, 37 minutes. Contingency is 4.2 for 15 minutes, so 4,200 pounds for a 15-minute fuel burn. That's for holding. After we reach our alternate destination, it's just contingency fuel. Alternate YQQ 7.3, so 7,300 pounds to get to Comox, 24 minutes. Final reserve, we get half an hour, so half an hour plus 15 minutes is 45 minutes. That's our legal reserve. We need to have 45 minutes of additional fuel once we've reached our destination. Or, sorry, our alternate. So we need to get to the destination, then go to the alternate, and then hold for 45 minutes. Of course, with contingency fuel in there for completing approaches or whatever, what have you. We're not doing ETOPS today. ETOPS stands for Extended Range Twin Engine Operations, so that would be overseas. If we're going to Europe or something like that, we would have extra fuel for ETOPS, but not today. And any predicted weather delays. We're not predicting any weather delays today, so 0 for that as well. Meaning block fuel that we're going to load onto the airplane before we leave is 89.4, so 89,400 pounds. And estimated fuel once we get to Vancouver is 18,000 pounds remaining, so an hour and 9 minutes remaining on landing into Vancouver. So that should be enough. Operational impacts, not too much to mention here. This basically says, well, if we went up 1,000 feet or down 1,000 feet, or our weights are different by 1 ton one way or the other, this is how the burn would be affected for fuel burns. Same thing with the cost index, and then time. So the cost index basically says we can fly faster if you want. That will take 8 minutes off of our trip, minus 8 minutes, but it'll add 3,900 pounds to the fuel burn, so we're less efficient at that increased speed. Yeah, and then flight release. So you put in the names of all the crew members here. And then this is just an area to write down all your actual times for out, off, on, and in. Out is usually doors closed. Off is parking brake release to taxi. And on is touchdown. In is in at the gate, doors open. And so we're expecting 5 hours and, let's see here. Yeah, SCED is 5 hours, 10 minutes. We're expecting 5 hours and 5 minutes. That's gate to gate. So we've got 289 passengers, 0 fuel weight of 457,400 pounds. That is the weight of everything on the airplane except the fuel, and that's a good reference number to use because then you have a number that you can just add fuel to. So if you do fuel changes or whatever, it's really easy math if you just take that number. And then our actual full takeoff weight is going to be 545,400 pounds, so 500,000 pounds just over. This airplane is large. Terrain clearance checks, we got terrain clearance completed with no limitations. Here's our actual flight plan with all the route coordinates. I'm not really going to go through that too much. Except, do they have... Let's see. It doesn't look like they have, at first glance, a turbulence report. The flight plans that I use at my company have an actual turbulence... Oh, here it is, SHR. So it's this bottom number here, this 1, 1, 2, 0. So the higher the number, the more turbulence we're expecting. So we're expecting a little bit of turbulence around Sault Ste. Marie, not too much. And then it's just zeros and ones the whole rest of the route looks like into Vancouver. So we're expecting a smooth flight today. Wind information at various flight levels at the various waypoints. This is just for predictive. This all gets loaded into the flight management system anyway. And this is the ICAO flight plan. This is actually what gets sent to air traffic control, so they know. It's all code, of course, but this is how they know where we're going and what altitudes and airspeeds and stuff like that. And then the whole rest of the flight plan, I'm just going to scroll all the way to the bottom here, is NOTAMs. This stands for Notice to Airmen. And basically what this is, is at this airport this time, they're going to have a closure of this runway, or this navigate's going to be out of service, or there's a whole bunch of different things they can put in here. You would go through this fairly closely to make sure that you were familiar with all the different procedures and the different situations that you can expect on this particular flight. Then we have the weather at the end. So this is the weather in Toronto right now, wind 080 at 10, varying from 060 to 120, that's a heading. 15-mile viz, broken at 26,000 feet for the clouds. Temperature's +5, the dew point is -10, altimeter 3033. So the closer the temperature dew point is, sort of the more I'm worried about either precipitation or fog or reduced visibility, anything like that. But for our departure slot right now, I'm looking at this and going, yeah, that's really good actually. The winds are pretty much calm. Expecting some rain and drizzle later on, but we should be well gone by then. So, and then into Vancouver today, 5 hours later, so we're going to be landing there at about, let's see, that's about 5 p.m. local time, and it's -7. So 17 plus 7 is 24, so it's 00 Zulu basically. So we're looking at this here, 270 at 8, and broken 16,000, so nothing there as well. Again, some rain later on in the early morning, but yeah, we should be, again, well into Vancouver by then, so it looks good for landing as well. Alternate weather we always take a really good look at, just to make sure that we do have a solid alternate. The alternate is your way out, so if any, I was right, it is Comox, all right. The alternate is your way out. If anything goes wrong during the flight, well, you can divert anywhere you want, really, but this is your out. So if we can't get into Vancouver for some reason, we need to know that we can get into our alternate. It's very, very important. So I'm looking at this for our arrival time, should be about 0100 Zulu. Close enough. Winds are going to be a little bit gusty. It's 140, 12 gusting 22. But it's not too much to handle. Plus 6 mile visibility, few at 5,000, so the ceiling is until 15,000 feet for the clouds. Overcast 25,000. So again, looking at this, again, a little bit of rain later on, but looks pretty good. I'm happy with that as an alternate. Any SIGMETs? SIGMETs are significant meteorological observations. So thunderstorms get reported, severe icing, severe turbulence. So for example, this one, CZVR is the Vancouver Center FIR. SIGMET Uniform 1, that's just a random designator, valid on the 13th, that's today from 1400 to 1800 Zulu, which is not for our arrival time, but I'm going to read it anyway. So CZVR, Vancouver FIR, severe turbulence observed within 60 miles of a line, north 54 degrees 42 minutes, west 125 degrees 37 minutes to this coordinate here. Surface to flight level 100, quasi-stationary, no change expected. So again, you look up, if this was going to affect us, we'd look up where those coordinates are, what kind of a box that draws, and see if we're going to be within it for the severe turbulence. We also have this one here in the Edmonton FIR, so that's part of our en route. We're going to be flying over Edmonton on the way to Vancouver. Edmonton FIR, severe turbulence observed within 60 miles of a line with some more coordinates, surface to 10,000 feet. I'm guessing this is probably mountain related. The Rockies, of course, are right there, so this is probably lee wave turbulence or something like that. We're going to be well above 10,000 feet at that point, so I'm not too concerned about it. Plus, it's also outside of our arrival time estimate. So that's good. This is just a graphical representation of our route from Toronto all the way across the country to Vancouver, with Comox as our alternate. This is an overall wind observation, significant weather, and jet streams. So flight level 290, they're expecting a jet stream crossing our path there. So we may get a little, that's probably where we get a little bit of turbulence as well as the Sault Ste. Marie area. but nothing really significant that I can see along our route. This is an example of thunderstorms down in the southern U.S. right now. Occasional embedded cumulonimbus clouds up to 440, which is 44,000 feet. We would definitely be going around those if they were up here, but as you can see, there's really nothing on our track that's of concern. So I'm happy with that. And this is 2 of 2. I think this is for a later time, is it not? Yeah, valid 12 UTC, and then valid 00 UTC. These are overall winds, so again, we're going to be fighting headwinds all the way to Vancouver, which is pretty much expected. The prevailing winds are always west to east, which is why the trip to Europe is always shorter than the trip from Europe, if you ever notice that. Going west is always longer, so again, nothing too serious that I see on here. It's all pretty typical. There's no over 100 knot headwinds expected. It's all pretty much, yeah, pretty normal. Flight level 340, so this is slightly lower than we're going to be, but I'm not expecting too much of an increase in the wind for only 2,000 or 4,000 feet. So expecting anywhere up to about probably 70, 75 knots on the nose. It sucks, but hey, what are you going to do? And then same thing for later on in the day. All right, and debriefing package. This is a waste of a piece of paper. All right, so I'm going to take a quick look. So that flight plan all checks out. We'd be happy with that. We'd sign that off, and then take a quick look at the airport charts. We're going to be parked at gate 139, which is right here on the corner of Pier Echo. So when we push back, depending on which runway we get, we're going to be turning the nose either left or right, so we can taxi out on the apron here, and then go out either Alpha Kilo or probably Alpha Lima. It's going to depend on what ATC, what air traffic control tells us. And any notes on here of interest that I can really see? Apron procedures, so we have to contact Apron Advisory. Now this is going to be a little bit different because of course it's not real world, so air traffic control is probably just going to be Toronto ground, if they're online at all. There's supposed to be a fly-in this afternoon, Toronto to Vancouver, so there may well be ATC. I'm hoping there is, so I can kind of demonstrate that too, but there probably will not be a dedicated Apron Advisory. Minimum breakaway power to be used. They're basically saying don't sandblast the terminal with your jet wash. Marshallers are required at all the gates. Gates 101A to 112 limitation. That's not applying to us because we're on gate 139. And yeah, other than that, strict adherence to taxi lane center line required. So follow the center line on the taxiway. That's very, very important here as well. On the departure procedure, so actually, I'm going to pull up the actual departure chart here. You can see there's quite a lot of choices here. And what did it say we had for the departure? I think it was the, just scroll back up here in the flight plan. Bear with me for one moment. A lot of text here. And there's our flight plan. Alright, so the AVSEP 2 departure is what it was. So let's go and take a look here. These are stars. Departures. AVSEP 2 departure is this right here. Okay. So this just is a graphical representation of what we're going to be doing on takeoff. So flying these headings away from the runway, expecting vectors to our initial fix here, probably AVSEP and then on course. We'll take a look at the second page of that. Route description. There we go. So depending which runway, all runways maintain 5,000 feet, then depending which runway we take off from, there's a whole bunch of other requirements as well as the comm failure procedure to be used if we do have a communications failure after takeoff. And the taxi chart, so we're going to need this to determine our taxi route as assigned by ATC. So we got all of our charts, we got our flight release. Let's head out to the aircraft. And yeah, so let's head out to the aircraft here.